So I just wanted to do a quick trade recap of a move I actually just caught just now. Wanted to kind of get it out of the way while it's still all fresh. So, it's Monday, May 5th. Happy Cinco de Mayo for anyone who celebrates that. I came into the charts, kind of looking at a few different things, right? I'll explain like all these different lines and all this stuff. So, as I've said in previous kind of videos, like I always want to come to the chart and first off mark off, key areas such as, previous week high, previous week low, previous day high, previous day low, and so on. And even, the 9:30 open, right? NY open, marking off also midnight open, right? These are key areas to wait for price to tag or go below. Like, let's say you're bullish, right? You want that to go below midnight open and preferably NY open as well. If you get below both of those and you see some sort of manipulation, that's a kind of a signal for a move up, and vice versa. If you want to see something bearish, you want to see it go below above those areas. So I make sure to mark all these things off. I also like to actually measure the candlesticks, right? Because a lot of the times, if you'll see prices trending, like let's look at this, weekly price action. Obviously, we have price had dipped into a monthly fair value gap over here. That's a monthly fair value gap it tapped into. And then ever since then, we've been bullish, right? We created a higher low. So that first signal that price is potentially trying to make what? A higher high, right? So these highs, in my opinion, are what price is looking for. Okay, so that's my bias. I'm bullish for this week. Now, typically, if we understand how a candle opens, right, like we talk about a lot of the times, candles open in a way that, first off, if you're bullish, they open, right, go low, go up, then close. Okay, so they always open, then manipulate lower, then move up, then close. Okay, so if you want to see that visually, it's as simple as price opening, going down, moving up, closing. Okay, so that's what these are doing. So if you keep that in mind throughout every different time frame you use, right? So keeping it in mind here at the weekly, we know that Monday and Tuesday or the start of the week is probably going to be somewhere around here, right? It's going to be that manipulation to then bring the move all the way up throughout the week. And you'll usually see maybe those continuations moves, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Sometime Wednesday makes the actual bottom. So you have to keep that in mind as well. So Wednesdays are kind of you kind of have to see what's going on. But Thursday is definitely your volume day and the time when price usually has figured out where it wants to go and it's moving. Okay, so we're at Monday. I'm expecting price to kind of manipulate a little bit lower in a way. So I had marked off this wick just in case. Okay, one thing I noticed, guys, was, and I'm big on playing the 50%, or some people call it the consequent encroachment of POIs and zones and areas you're looking for a trade. I wanted to see us tap at least the 50% of this wick, and you obviously see with last week's candle, we did not get there yet, and this is a pretty bullish candle, right? So my anticipation rather is if we're not going to go like immediately up from here, I'm expecting price to maybe take last week's high, hit the 50% of the wick, and then give us that little manipulation maybe on Tuesday, Wednesday to create the low, and then we go up. Okay, so keeping that in mind, I then went to the daily. All right, so the daily, actually, let me get rid of this little marker thing. All right, and just to let you know, this yellow line, these are the weekly. These yellow lines, this is the 30, 50, and 70% of the weekly candle. Okay, these are key areas that I can expect maybe price to turn from or, have a strong reaction to continue to move up. Okay, for the week. Now we're on the daily. So if you're on the daily, I'm just playing previous day's candle, right? This is Friday. I'm trying to see if, because look at this candle. It takes the low of this prior day candles, this is Thursday, right? And then gives us a nice bullish engulfing candle. So that's signaling some pretty strong bullish momentum. All right. So I don't really expect price to totally just drop and break this candle. I'm expecting price to stay somewhere in the top half of this candle and then move up. So keeping that in mind, I went down to the 4-hour. Okay. And now if we zoom in here, okay, so remember the black one is the daily, and I'm just going to hide them because I've kind of broke it down. I don't want to be too messy for you guys, but I was playing the 10 a.m. 4-hour PO3. Okay. Very simple stuff. And hide this too, keep it clean a little bit. So like I was saying, I also mark off the 10 a.m. open, right? Because once candle price opens, if I'm expecting to play or catch the wick of the 4-hour candle, right? I want to see price manipulate below 10 a.m.'s opening price to ride that 4-hour candle, okay? So here, what do we have here, okay? Why did I mark up the 6 a.m. candle? I always mark that up because if we're going to continue, and if I'm going to catch the wick, the 6 a.m. candle is where manipulation is going to be, occurring at, right? The 10 a.m. candle is going to come up, and then we're going to close, or not close, but we're going to manipulate lower somewhere within that 6 a.m. candle typically, okay? And I always say this, we want to see it in the top half. This middle one's the 50, this is the 30. Sometimes if it's super strong, we'll come to the 30 and go up, okay? But the lowest I want to see is price go to the 50 and at least be respected. I'm not really expecting it to go to the 70, okay? So we obviously manipulated down into 50, and we've been seeing what's been happening since, right? So I marked that off to come into the day. When we go to the 15-minute, right now, always, if obviously in this scenario, as I'm showing you guys, I'm bullish, okay? So when I come to the lower time frames, I always try to see if I can find some sort of price action or some sort of point of interest on either the 1 hour or the 15-minute. Okay, so when I came into the market, obviously this was the candle that we were playing off of, the 10 a.m. one here. There wasn't really any POIs to work with, right? We just had this candle and we had this. So, I guess you can say this. Okay, and this is something that honestly I missed. If you're going to play this, I can see that because we did come back into that and go. All right, so this is actually a learning lesson for me. Maybe that's something I can play. But I'm more of a, I like it to be a little bit more cleaner than that. Okay, for some people that's clean. For me, not as much. So when I came here, what I noticed on the 15-minute that I liked was we had this sort of fractal zone. Okay, so what I mean by that is if you see this candle, and I'm going to actually hide this for a second because it keeps getting in the way. So this candle did what? We took this low, the low of this candle, and went up and closed above this one. That's a strong signal that we're going to be moving up, for one, right? So that happened 9:30, of course. Now, this wick, this is the high of this candle, but then we also come back here. So on a lower time frame, this is literally a move up and then a pullback. This is like an order block on a lower time frame, probably. Okay, maybe not an order block, but it's a pullback. And that's what price is doing, right? Order blocks, all these things, we're essentially just waiting for price to come back into areas that have pulled back, okay? So I liked that as a zone. I like to play the fractal zones only if they're responsible for doing something significant, okay? And in this case, this fractal zone was the one responsible for creating, for actually, breaking this high here. Okay, so that's one thing I noticed. So a lot of the times, zones that are responsible for taking out structures are where price will pull back into so that you can continue up. So that was my POI that I wanted to target. Okay, we obviously came extremely deep into that. I actually lost a trade trading this one. I'll break that down for you here. So this is when the 10 a.m. candle had opened up. I'm going to go ahead and hide this. This is just the 4-hour, 6 a.m. candle. You can see we pulled back into the 50 and then went from there. But I'm going to hide that for the sake of being clean here. All right. So what had happened here was, we're in this fractal zone. It comes up. We go here at 10:07. I actually consider this to be a change in the state of delivery right here. So I had got into a trade on the pullback, and I was already in this one to go for 2R. Okay. I don't know what that is. But anyways, I was here to go for 2R. Okay. Now, price that came up here, I actually had a partial right here for a 1-to-1. I was hoping it was going to hit, but we dropped. And I knew I was kind of in trouble because another thing that I noticed is although we were below midnight open and 10 a.m. open during this manipulation that caused the first change in the state of delivery here, we also weren't below NY open. And a lot of the times, and I'm starting to learn that I need to wait for price to just be below both of them, preferably. And if it's not, then I just don't trade that day, right? That's something I'm learning because we took this loss here for about 35, 36 points, okay? And then after that, I noticed something critical, right? We come down to the NY open, and I also like to play my EMA, so if you're an EMA guy, this hit the 200 as well, okay? So when it does that, and it also goes below NY open and just wicks it like that, I also noticed another thing, and this is really key. I don't know what they call this, to be very honest with you, but I've just noticed a lot in back testing and just trading in my years. When you have a candle, because this is how this one opened. It opened after this, right? So obviously there's a closure of this bullish candle right here, this one, 1035. Then this one opens. We manipulated lower and went below NY open. And then after that, we came up and even took this high too. When you see something like that, typically price is going to go. So I entered the trade after seeing this. I didn't even wait for the change in the state of delivery over here. Okay, I'm going to show you guys actually a little image of the actual trade too. Okay, so when I got in the trade, let's see here, it was somewhere around this area. I'll actually pull up the picture for you guys in a second. But this was a trade for 6.7 R. Okay, roughly 6.7 R. All right, and I'm here in this little group. There's a group of buddies of ours. But look at this. I got in at 229.50, somewhere in that area, okay? And closed it at the target here, as you can see. All right, so really good stuff here. Really good stuff here. And as I told you before, this was the change in the state of the delivery. I got it after seeing that. So you guys can make note of that, back test it yourself. I'm telling you, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. All right. So actually, let me move this up because we were 29.50. You're looking at 3.9 R or 4 R. Okay. So let me correct myself there. 4 R move. Pretty good stuff. All right. So that was pretty much the breakdown. Very simple, right? What do? We marked off our key areas, right? Previous week high, previous day high, previous, day low, all these key areas. We mark off our time, lines as well. Midnight open, 10 a.m. open, NY open. And then we wait until we see a change in the state of delivery, right? A sweep of liquidity, all these sort of things during the manipulation below 10 a.m. to ride that 4-hour candle, okay? All we're doing, guys, is literally getting in on this wick. See, that's where my thing is. Got in on this wick, and this is the move up. And I'm going for just, something subtle. You can keep going if you want to, but I'm good with 2R. Obviously, that was 4R because I understood that we were trying to at least take this high. So that was fine with me, but you can see how this is an easy system to give you at least 2 hours. Make sure to follow me on X, guys. I'm Market Mellow on X. If you want to see more updates, more stuff, I'm going to really start posting there more and boost my activity there. And as well as, places like TikTok, you can find me on there, Market Mellow 33, Instagram. So I'll be definitely including more information, and I'm planning to push out a free webinar here pretty soon as well for anyone that wants to join that, just to kind of help those that are really trying to get started in trading. Hope you guys have a good one. Take care, and until next time.